Our world is just packed with all these hidden technologies. But today, we're going to look at one of the most powerful, an invisible force that literally holds everything from your car to your soup can together.
Okay, let me start by asking you a question. Just picture a car. What do you think is holding all those huge pieces of sheet metal together to make the frame? If you guessed glue or maybe screws, you're not alone. But honestly, the real answer is way more incredible. It's actually thousands upon thousands of tiny, super strong bonds fused right into the metal itself. And each one is created in just a blink of an eye.
The magic behind all this? It's called resistance welding. And the basic idea is just brilliant. You use intense pressure and a really powerful electric current to literally melt two pieces of metal so they become one. So, see, unlike a screw, it's not just holding things next to each other, it's making them a single piece. And unlike glue, it's instant and unbelievably strong. So in this explainer, we're going to break it all down. First, we'll get into the basic principle. Then we'll dive into four major types: spot, seam, projection, and the very dramatic sounding flash welding. So how does this actually work? Well, it all comes down to a simple principle of electricity that I bet you've seen in your own home, probably this morning. Ever peeked inside a toaster and seen those wires glowing bright orange? That glow is heat, and it's happening because the wires are resisting the electricity trying to flow through them. Resistance welding takes that exact same idea, but instead of toasting your bread, it focuses all that heat into one tiny, tiny point for just a split second to melt solid steel. And here's the cool part. No matter which type we're talking about, the core process is always the same 4 steps. First, you squeeze the metal parts together. Then you zap them with a ton of current. This creates intense heat because of that resistance we talked about. And finally, it fuses the metal into a permanent weld. Squeeze, zap, heat, fuse. It's that simple, and it's crazy effective. All right, so let's see this principle in action. Our first method is officially called resistance spot welding, or RSW, and this is the one you'll find all over your car. Okay, so imagine this. You've got 2 copper electrodes. They look kind of like a giant pair of tongs, and they clamp down hard on the metal sheets. Then, a massive jolt of electricity passes right between them, focused on that tiny point where they touch. The metal instantly melts and fuses, creating a single, super strong spot weld. This incredible speed is exactly why it's the king of automated assembly lines. It's so much faster and cheaper than drilling holes and putting in rivets. And where do you find this? Everywhere. A typical car body has several thousand spot welds holding it together. It's also absolutely critical in the aerospace industry, where, strength and precision are everything. But what if you don't just want a series of dots, right? What if you need a continuous, totally unbroken bond? Well, that's where our next method comes into play. Seam welding, or RSEW, basically takes the idea of spot welding and puts it in motion. Instead of those pointed tongs, it uses 2 rotating wheels. As these wheels roll along the metal, a continuous current creates a whole series of overlapping welds, which forms one long, unbroken seam. The result is a perfect, leak-proof seal. It's like a zipper for metal. And that watertight, airtight seal is exactly why you find seam welding in things like fuel tanks, metal pipes, and even the steel cans sitting in your pantry. Anything that needs to hold a liquid or a gas without a single drop leaking relies on this method. Okay, this next method it's just really, really clever. It's all about welding with extreme precision by building the design right into the parts from the start. So, how's this work? With projection welding, or RPW, one of the pieces of metal is actually made with these tiny little bumps on it. They call them projections, right where the welds need to go. Then, when these big, flat electrodes apply current, the electricity naturally just funnels through those tiny points of contact. The bumps instantly melt and form perfect little welds. The genius of it is that you build the precision into the part, not the machine. It just simplifies the whole process immensely. This is the absolute go-to method for attaching small parts onto bigger surfaces. Think about welding a nut onto a piece of sheet metal, or attaching tiny electrical contacts. Projection welding makes it fast, strong, and just incredibly precise. And finally, we come to the most powerful, the most dramatic method of them all, flash welding. This one is all about raw speed and pure energy. With flash welding, you take 2 pieces of metal, say the ends of 2 rods, and you bring them really close together. An incredibly intense current is passed between them,
which creates this brilliant arc, a flash, that melts the surface of both pieces. Then, in that exact same instant, they're slammed together with immense pressure. The result is a perfect forged weld in just milliseconds. Because it's so ridiculously fast and strong, this method is perfect for joining things end to end. You know, like making long, continuous metal rods, pipes, or wires out of shorter pieces. So let's just do a quick recap here. Spot welding, or RSW, gives us those strong individual points, which is essential for car bodies. Seam welding, our SEW, trades those points for a continuous line, creating the leak-proof seals we need for things like fuel tanks. Projection welding, our PW, very cleverly uses built-in bumps to attach small parts with high precision. And finally, flash welding gives us that high-speed, high-power fusion for joining rods and pipes end to end. 4 very different methods, all using that same core principle of electrical resistance. So yeah, from the car you drive to the can of soup sitting in your kitchen, this remarkable process, all based on a simple principle of electricity, is the invisible force that is quietly and reliably building the world all around us. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other simple technologies hiding in plain sight are we just completely taking for granted every single day? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.